It has been an absolutely insane few weeks, and I'm here to tell you all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, Tarek Ibrahim, and you have just tuned in to probably the most insane hour of your life that you're ever going to hear ever in the first world. Now, let me tell you, I am the CEO of IG Strategies. We've been doing marketing, public relations, advocacy work for almost 15 years now. So it has been a whirlwind of experiences, a whirlwind of things. And what I'm about to tell you might shock you to the core. But this is my story. This is my truth. This is my reality. And I figured I got to tell you the stories. And it's not a story like you would normally assume. It's not a story about guilt. It's not a story about a great marketing adventure. It's a story of pain, of suffering, of dignity, of loss of love. It is a collection of woes that is very true to my heart that I'm going to share with you guys today. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the government today, because obviously that's always something insane. And Canada is on a tear trying to rebuild itself. So I think we need to spend a lot of time on that. And then also when we're going to talk about AI is the constant change in the universe, change in marketing, change in public relations, change everywhere in the world. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of tea, enjoy yourself, because we are really going to get into it today, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, I want you all to pay attention to the first story of the day, which is actually what is going on with the government of Canada today. So the first thing in the world of Canada today is the climate change. Now, a lot of you are skeptics of climate change. A lot of you people don't believe climate change exists. I know a lot of people hate climate change. And you know what? I too am not a true believer of climate change. Let me personify that. Let me say that very loud and clear. If the entire world can get V8s, I am the man to support that mission. You know what I mean? If Canada can become a warmer place, if that's really the downfall of climate change, hey, I'm all for Canada becoming warmer. Now, it goes into the philosophical conversation is, well, the world is going to end if we don't do something about it. I'm of the opinion the world is going to end regardless. So are we actually speeding it up? Can human beings actually speed it up? Now, that's a whole conversation for another time, and I don't want to bore you with those details. But ladies and gentlemen, Canada rolls back climate change rules and energy deal with Alberta. This is huge because, as you know, Canada has a major problem on its hands where it is struggling to figure out a way to survive the clash with the United States. It has been an ongoing problem, and Canada has finally decided that maybe it's time to move ways. Maybe it's time to pass the buck, if you will, to change its alliances, to change its friends with America, and figure out a new way to survive in a post-Trump world. And one of those things is to figure out how to make Canada a nation that actually produces. And as this rich nation is, oil is just singing and dancing underneath the province of Alberta. So we got to do something about it. We got to take it out. And these are all immediate ideas that I've spoken to many a times with colleagues and peers, that Canada is actually a nation-rich resource, a nation-rich, a resource-rich nation, and we need to get this stuff out of the ground. So you know what? If it's a couple of quote-unquote climate change rules that are stopping us from actually feeding our people, then maybe those rules are actually hindering our society. And the wonderful Mark Carney has finally decided that, you know what, climate change ain't that important today. Because, of course, it's great to be able to say you're saving energy. But you know what's even better? Giving Canadians jobs. That sounds a lot better to me. And that's basically the rationale that's going on right now. And ultimately, the idea here is to basically boost investments into the oil. Like it's directly a contradiction to what currently exists. They're basically motivating investors, motivating construction of the pipeline. So anybody that wants to get in on this pipeline action, the government is loosening up the red tape, as you will. They were trying to make it easier, and this is the first step to doing so. So Trudeau's former Minister of the Environment actually says he is going to be quitting because of Mark Carney's radical changes in the environmental policy. So anytime I hear anybody from Trudeau's cabinet wants to quit because these shifts and changes are too radical, I'm the first one to sign up on that list. So I'm very happy to see these sort of things happening. Because guys, like, let's be real here. It's do or die for Canada. Like, if you are a fond believer that Canada is an independent nation, you want to truly believe that Canada can survive without the United States, then boy, oh boy, you got to pull up your big boy pants and do some uncomfortable things. And some of those uncomfortable things are going to be dig oil. Dig the oil out of the ground. Because guess what, guys? You need to survive. It is more important, and believe me, it is more important to have gasoline, to have oil, to have Canada making money than to think that we will affect the environment anyway. I've said for billions of years, does Canada even make an impact in the environment? Like when you have people like the United States, you have China, you have India, you have these giant nations that just clearly outdo all the pollution in the world compared to us. What are we even doing? Like, come on, move on, guys. Like, it is time to put Canada first. Make this nation an independent, actual, true country. So that's where I'm standing with. So, and if anyone is putting together the moves to actually make Canada an independent nation that is actually self-sufficient, I support that guy. I don't care about colors. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're conservatives. But if you're trying to make Canada a strong nation, okay, I support that. Now, that might not be the most funnest answer on social media. I get that. A lot of you guys might be like, man, Tarek, I thought you were a conservative. Or people were saying, oh, Tarek, I thought you were more smarter than that. No, I'm not smarter than that. No, I'm actually more smarter than you think, because it is not favorable for Canada to even pretend to care about the environment if your nation falls and just collapses, right? Like there's a limit, you know, there's a Maslow hierarchy of needs. And at the top of that hierarchy is people living in their homes, having shelter. And if you ain't got jobs and you ain't got money, guess what you ain't got? People living at home. So that whole luxury of the environment, that's a tertiary thing right now. Now it's the time for the people to have jobs. It's time for the nation to make money. Full speed ahead. So if this is the cost, if the cost is we are not going to make these, you know, green things, you know what? Keep your green energy bills, keep your conservation bills, keep it all. We don't need that right now. We need to make Canada strong. And I can't emphasize it enough. If you think the environment is more important than putting food on your own table, good luck eating, man. Go and eat some salad all day. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. So these are all good moves. So in remarks at an industry event in Calgary, Carney said the U.S. tariffs and resulting uncertainty will wipe $50 billion from Canada's economy. Like I said, these are astronomical numbers. Like, we're not joking around anymore. $50 billion, and that's an equivalent of $1,300 from every single Canadian citizen. It is a huge hit to our economy. Like, what is happening in Canada right now is just so underplayed in the media, right? And that's because they don't want mass panic. They don't want people losing their minds at what is the potential. But that's why you see the economy is slowly slowing down. Slower and slower and slower it goes. And it's all because of this. It's all because of it just cannot move anymore. We don't build enough stuff to sustain this country on our own. So if this bill is what it takes, do it. And I'll tell you one thing. The more you got to do, just do it. I am telling you, just do it. Just let us Canadians survive. And stressing that the build projects that can spur growth and reduce reliance on the United States. But again, Carney, he comes out and says, but hey, by 2050, we're going to be still on track with emission zero. 2050, let's hope Canada survives until 2050, man. Who cares about all these net zero? Let's, like, God, if I hear one more net zero, I swear. That same note, Alberta is actually exploring how to take the oil via pipeline to Asia. And I think this is the biggest development in the whole story here that a lot of people aren't really cluing into, is that Canada wants to figure out a way to take the oil to other trading partners. And this is huge, right? Because right now, believe it or not, we can't send our stuff anywhere but to the U.S. Like, there is no other option for Canadians right now. It's we send our oil to the U.S. So hopefully they figure it out. And I actually think the feasibility is irrelevant. Take that investment, roll with it, Make sure no one sells it in a last ditch effort to quote unquote balance the budget. That'll be super annoying. But let this be an actual project run by Canadians for Canadians to benefit Canadians. So run it to China, run it to Asia, run it to Europe, run it everywhere. Make pipeline heaven. You know, the consequences of spilling gas into the oil and the oceans, you know, the fish will not be happy with us. And I do sympathize with the animals, to be quite honest, on that level. But we have to do things, right? Canada has been dormant for so many years. It's time to pull up our big boy pants. It's time to be a real player in this world. It's time to actually produce. We have all the resources required to do this. So can we just do it already? Let us just be a nation full of rich and wealth. But it really just goes to show, because what's so fascinating is that people are actually spending a lot of time talking about Stephen Guilbeault. A lot of people are talking about Stephen Guilbeault and about him resigning as the environmental minister. You know what? I'll be honest with you, Steve. Can I call you Steve? Is that okay, Steve? Steve, honest to God, are you okay? Are you actually okay? Like, do you actually think that trying to create a pipeline to save Canada is a secondary thing to the environment? Like, in what world do you live where the priority of trees and goals for 2050, God knows if any of us even survive till 2050, trumps trying to survive today? And there is no misuse of the word Trump in that sentence. I am dead serious with what I'm saying. So resigning because you feel that you are being misunderstood, resigning because you think the environment isn't a priority anymore and you feel that this is a sacrilegious. Who's going to pay you if no Canadian has a job anymore because we can't survive, because our nation is defaulting on everything? Where do you get the idea that it's a good idea to put the environment above everybody else? And this is a thing that a lot of politicians are missing the point on right now. And as this goes in every single political circle right now, whether you're a conservative, whether you're a liberal, there's a moment when you actually just have to be honest. And this is something they're actually doing in Wales right now. And I think this deserves some time here. In Wales, this little itsy-bitsy tiny nation, they want to make a law that actually makes it a crime, or at least an offense, basically, if a government member or a politician lies. And you know what? That is something that we should really bring back to Canada. And I think that this goes a really long way, because who on earth, look, I'm a big fan. I got trees in front of my home, and they're very old trees, and I'm keeping them up. And even though they make a huge mess all the time, and my wife is always complaining about it, and it leaves so much mess in the gutters, and I got to go into the gutters and clean out the gutters, I keep those trees, because you know what? Those trees give me shade. Those trees are living beings, in my opinion. These are beautiful things, you know, and there's no reason to take them down. Like, to take down a tree because I don't like it, I don't actually feel that is a fair thing. It's not my role. I am not killing trees. This same person that will not kill trees is all for digging the hell out of our earth to pull up these natural resources. And it's because we need money, guys. This isn't a fairy tale story anymore. Like, I'm shocked that people are resigning from their cabinetary positions because a pipeline deal going on in Alberta. Like, where do you live? Where do you, like, have you lost touch with society? Like, do you actually think, like, you can survive in Canada in an age where we don't have our biggest trading partner anymore, and we can still think that we will manage this environmental issue? Guys, it is so simple. Maintain our human civilization, maintain our population, keep the citizens happy, and then make up some fake things to do to keep yourselves busy. But Minister of Environment, I'm sorry, you should be out of a job. We shouldn't even care about the environment right now. Now, unless it goes to scorched earth mode where we're having acid rain and we destroy all our lakes and we don't have any drinking water, and it's an actual direct impact, like somebody's literally throwing poison into our water, I think we need to just scale it down a little bit, to be quite honest. Like this, there is some massive scaling down that needs to happen in this in this whole world right now, especially in Canada. We don't have an environmental problem in Canada. We are probably the most greenest country in the world. We have so many trees, so much fresh lakes. We have so much of a beautiful nation. So you know what? If we got to dig a little bit, pull out a little bit of oil to make sure this country stays strong, let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. Stephen, expect more from you, man. Like you're not what principle are you standing on when your people that are living in your province, the people you're representing can't get a job because they can't trade anymore, because Canada can't pay anymore. No long-term vision with these guys. So, Stephen, I hate to see you go, but see you later, man. If you can't figure this out, you don't deserve to be in cabinet right now. And these are the moves. And conservatives don't want to give the Liberals enough credit for these sort of things. Like I know it's against the rules to give credit to the enemy. I know that we are so finite in these rules that I'm a conservative, therefore I hate the Liberals, or I'm a Liberal, therefore I hate conservatives. You know what, guys? I don't think Mark Carney cares about Liberals and conservatives. I actually think that he's within his reason. Again, all politicians are special interests and special individuals, but Mark Carney, the Liberal that is picking up the torch of Justin Trudeau, if you can remember Justin Trudeau, his environmental minister is quitting now because Mark ain't doing enough. So does that mean Mark is now a conservative, right? Like think about it. What is the optics of that? That the environmental minister before that was in love and happy and working with Trudeau and loving life cannot stand Mark Carney to the extent that he has to leave now. Somebody's got to call it out. That's why this blue and red and orange thing, this is all annoying propaganda. Canadians need to go better. We need to be better. We need to be more aware of protecting Canada, saving Canada. That's what we need to focus on, guys. This nation needs to survive our grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It cannot die now. Too early. Someone's got to do something about it. So you know what? We got to push those nice, comfortable, feel-good, mushy-dushy 2050 emissions. Push them back. Who likes electric cars anyway? You know what I mean? Let's just be real. So now let's focus our attention to the good old province of Quebec. And, Quebec is always... What can you say about these guys, right? There's so much to be said. There's so much that shouldn't be said. But Quebec's sweeping new secular bill targets public prayer, and somehow Christmas parties are okay, right? And this is the arena that we're in today, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we stand right now, that all things religious is being banned in Quebec. Under the guise of secularism, under the guise of equality, they're just completely disrespecting everybody's freedom of choice, right? It's actually the complete opposite of what it's trying to be. It's pretending to be inclusive when it's truly excluding literally everybody that doesn't want to display their own religion to whatever extent. And I think it's insane, to be quite honest. So as worded, the bill actually states, and I'm going to read this out for you guys, the bill prohibits the use of public roads and public parks for the purpose of collective religious practices without the authorization of the municipality. And of course, that these permits would be handed out on a case-by-case basis. So basically, you wing it, more or less. Now, the challenge a lot of people don't understand, and I'm going to try and break this down for everybody right now, is that Quebec and Canada are meant to be the same nation, right? This is the thing that is so interesting, is that as much as Quebec wants to maintain its French identity, even that identity is really based on some sort of Christian identity, right? Like there's a whole thing going on with French Christian identity, older churches. There's a big thing there. So by them trying to say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. We need to maintain our French heritage. Everyone's just leaving. Quebec is becoming an absolute have not province. And sooner or later, it's just going to become a not. It's just going to be left behind because, as every other province can very clearly see, it's very important to have a multicultural society. That's just what Canada has become. Now, you can ignore it. You can pretend, oh no, we just need the old stock Canadians here. And hey, I got no problem with old stock Canadian. In fact, I sympathize a great deal with this idea of the old stock white Anglophone, Francophone Canadian. I really do. But you guys are not reproducing. Hate to tell you this. Most of my friends that are quote unquote British or quote unquote Italian or quote unquote third or fourth generation here in Canada, and I'm pushing 40 something right now. Most of these guys have one kid, have no kid, don't want to even be married, don't want to be in a relationship. So where does that put society? What happened that these people don't want to reproduce, don't want to procreate, don't want to have religious values, don't believe in morality? Hey, I'm not saying at the same time that we should just let anyone into Canada. I definitely don't agree with letting anybody into Canada. We should have our test. We should have our standards. We should have some sort of metric that shows some sort of a compatibility if you can adapt or not adapt. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing here is, and a lot of people are saying this thing online, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. But if your priority is Canada, like you care about Canada, you care about making a strong Canadian country, come on in, man. Come on in. This population will not survive. We need immigrants. We need immigrants. Listen, people that hate immigrants, this is for you. I'm going to be so honest here, so straightforward to you. Canada has an extremely low population. People that hate immigrants, I'm talking directly to you. People that hate immigrants need to know that Canada has a very low population. And once we got rid of all the immigrants, because now there's this massive thing to kick out the PR people, kick out all the green, like everyone that doesn't have citizenship, we're just booting them all out right now. There's a huge purge. Like if you don't know, I've been to tons of hotels in Toronto, and all the guest services people, all the people that would take my bags and those sort of things, so many of them are not there anymore because they got sent back to India or wherever they came from, because they're just out of here. That's it. They're not renewing their passports. They're not renewing their status, and they're gone. And you might be celebrating, but good, now we got it back. We got our country back. Fantastic. This is my Anglo. This is my accent. My accent of an individual. My white boy accent, if you will. And you know what, guys? You're not doing your part. Let me be honest. You guys, the people that hate immigrants, these white people that hate immigrants, specifically white people that hate immigrants, that hate everyone, that think we're taking everyone's jobs, that immigrants are taking your jobs, you're not doing your part. You're not becoming educated enough. You're not having enough babies. You're not doing all the jobs. And for some reason, you're blaming the immigrants for doing these things. And it's really becoming an issue where it's like, let's just be honest for a moment. We sent back all the immigrants. Like if you go to any college or any university, there is a huge decrease in enrollment. Why? Because we got rid of all the students. So now colleges and universities are bleeding. Oh, housing. No one's buying houses anymore. Why? We got rid of all the immigrants. So now we have a housing collapse happening. The bubble is starting to burst, ladies and gentlemen. The bubble is starting to burst. And what's even worse, and you don't even realize it yet, is now people are not buying things, right? The volume of commodities that are being sold is drastically dropping. I talked to an executive of Walmart, and he's telling me they are just struggling right now because they cannot sell enough of their goods. So all of this happens because of the immigrants. So we weren't ready for them. We didn't have the houses for them. So the housing prices went crazy. Sure, that was annoying, right? But now the opposite is happening. Nobody's buying homes. Nobody's buying products. People are losing their jobs. Nobody's buying cars. Nothing's happening anymore. So unless you guys are going to start procreating at a rate of like 50 kids to one, we got to get used to the idea of having more immigrants. Now, again, I'm completely okay with being selective. We do not need to get every single person from India into Canada. Let's just call it what it is. There's allowed to be demographics. We can get people from this country. We can get people from this country. Let's have a nice spread, right? Let's get people from everywhere. Let's get people from England. Let's get people from Spain. Let's get people from Egypt. Let's get the best and the brightest. Like, if we're actually choosing, like, let's put this out there. If we're going to choose the type of immigrants that are coming to Canada, why don't we just choose the best people? Let's choose the smartest, brightest, most resourceful people that are going to make Canada great. But let's just not get anybody to Canada. Let's just do it on our own, guys. Like, if you think you can do this on your own, like, I don't know who you're watching on the internet that's encouraging that sort of idea. This is absolutely brainless, to be quite honest. So we gotta put it all in perspective. And this goes on to the next subject of all these visas that are about to expire. Now, again, I understand we have a problem. We have an immigrant problem. I get it. I hear it. I understand. But there's another problem here, that we have tens of thousands of international students that are trying to complete their postdoctorate or trying to complete their university programs, and their visas are about to expire. There's about 31,000 people with these work permit, with these student visas that are about to expire, and there is no sign that Canada is going to actually renew them. So again, we're in the same problem. All these universities, all these colleges that are relying on this tuition money, because let's be honest here, international student tuition, that is money in the bank for these guys. That is a multiple of 2, 3, 4 times. So these tuitions are serious. This is the bread and butter for any university. And now these people, their students, their studies, their collective contribution to Canada, because they're coming to a university to do a PhD, they're actually doing research for Canada, is in limbo. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't know if they're going to be renewed. If they all get kicked out, okay, they all get kicked out. But now what? What happens to their research? What happens to their jobs? What happens to them and their families? Like, there is a whole process here of something that we would actually call very unfair, right? Like, you come into this country, you think you're going to do a study, you're going to research, you're going to do things, you're going to try and survive here in Canada, you're going to contribute to society, and you get the boot. It's tough. Guys, this is a tough time. Canada is really having a tough time. If you can't read the writing on the wall right now, I'm telling you, this is very difficult. And lastly, we end with Ontario's biggest story, guys. And this is really what's going on in the Ring of Fire. And this is a very, very, very mineral-rich part of Ontario. It is just loaded, right? Of course, the trick to access the Ring of Fire is the land that it's on does not belong to the province. It belongs to the First Nations. So in a historic deal, Doug Ford, again, the guy is just king of negotiating, right? This guy is just making deals left and right. Doug Ford is just doing... Honestly, guys, look, I hate sounding biased. And you can criticize anybody because everybody is human. So you're completely free to do so. But the amount of work that Doug Ford and the PCs are doing right now for the province of Ontario is really... It is really first class. The guy is literally doing things left and right to try and make the lives of Canadians better. Now, that's not to say he doesn't come with his flaws. Every single person in the world has flaws, and I would say it's inhumane to think that there's somebody perfect, right? Now, you may like me as much as you want, but not everybody's me, of course, right? So there's that. But really, this Ring of Fire is a huge deal, because what they're actually going to do now is they have the First Nations people, the people of the Martin Falls, are going to receive roughly about $40 million for infrastructure to help them build up their reserve and build up their area. And in doing so, they will expediently build the road that's on their land to get to the Ring of Fire. And this is a huge thing, right? Like, Canada needs to get whatever it can out of the ground. And like I said from the beginning, whatever it takes for Canada to become self-sufficient, I am on board. So if it is making the deals with the First Nations, paying them astronomical prices, but then Canada gets this chance to get the minerals and even make more money, then so be it. We have wasted more money on our province on shutting down the power plants. We have wasted more money on selling the 407. We have wasted more money on selling Petro-Canada. We have blew so much money on the thing called balancing the budget. This idea of balancing the budget, it is such a cop-out from actual politics. Now, again, nobody wants to waste money. But when you're the government and you're printing money and you're deciding whether or not your people are on food stamps or your people are on welfare because you did the wrong policy, because you prioritized our carbon footprint in 2050 versus feeding people today, I'm always going to choose feeding people today. And I think that is the lesson people need to understand, that we are in a time where Canada needs to move fast. And we can't even move as fast as we actually need to, right? We are still stuck with the problem that human beings can only build at whatever pace we can build, that there's only 7 days a week. So regardless of what we want to do, we are always 10 years behind, right? So get it clear, we're behind no matter what. So that is the biggest problem here, that we are starting this race way too late. We are waking up as a nation way too late, and we are in big trouble. So with that, I end with my own personal point here, and that is the tragedy that has happened, that my actual offices all got robbed. All of our cameras, our laptops, our computers, everything was ransacked. Nothing survived. And you say to yourself, oh, well, you have insurance. You have nothing to worry about. You're right. I do have insurance. I have nothing to worry about. You're absolutely right. But the insurance renewal, ladies and gentlemen, came during the time that our beloved postal workers were on strike. And due to that, when I called my insurance to make my claim that I so justifiably deserved, I was informed that my renewal was in the mail and I never received it. And of course, my insurance company, they're so busy, God bless them, they couldn't give me a phone call. They couldn't tell me that your insurance is expired. Would you like to renew it? None of that took place. It just floundered away in expiration land. And my entire team, all our electronics, all our devices had to be repurchased at market value, out of pocket. And basically, we had to rebuild all over again within a few weeks. So you've noticed I've been offline for some time, and that's because of this giant tragedy where we just didn't have anything except our phones. And I really wasn't in the mood to talk about this giant loss because it was just so annoying. But that's the truth. The truth is, the good old postal strike, not only does it delay people from getting checks and people from getting mail, but now it also delays people from getting their insurance renewal and people actually being able to recover their losses from these things. And it's just a real wonderful world. So thank you, Canada Post, for doing your job. I can't express how annoying this situation is, to be quite honest, but this is life. This is business. This is the world we live in. So I hope you guys had a good time with us today. I hope we had a wonderful episode today. I think it was good. AI is just changing the world altogether, guys. It is constantly going back and forth from ChatGPT to Gemini to ChatGPT to Gemini. I don't know if this Office AI has any legs to it at all, but it is an ongoing thing, and I really don't know where it stops, right? Like if we're really going to talk about AI right now, it's just too much. I think it's too much. I think the government needs to wake up on this a little bit and put some rules in place. I think the fact that everybody's jobs is basically going to be gone due to AI, I think there's a lot of problems that's bound to happen, and the government is going to probably wait way too late to do anything about it. And they really need to get on it. So I know there's a minister of AI, minister of cyber technologies and whatnot. But Evan, you got to get on this, man. You got to save the people. That there's a lot of jobs that are going to go missing. And unless Canada is in that position where it's super rich and it can just pay people to stay home, giving them, what I would call a decent living wage, quote unquote, where they can pay their mortgage because ain't nobody affording a house. So you scale the average mortgage, let's say between the people in Toronto and the people in Windsor, let's call it average house, let's call it 700,000. Are you going to be able to pay that? I don't know. I don't think you can. So, maybe putting some rules on AI, figuring out how to use AI. Because, sure, it saves a lot of jobs, a lot of time, makes life really easy. But at the end of the day, those jobs are going to come from somewhere. And if we don't have the know-how to figure out how to counter this AI revolution, how to figure out what to do next for our people, you'll still have the same results. So whether you save Canada from America or you save Canada from AI, Canada absolutely needs saving. And somebody out in government world needs to start thinking about the people, because it's getting real dark real quick. And we'll see you again next time.